So, what if the biggest threat from AI isn't some kind of robot uprising, but something, well, quieter? A language that we just can't understand anymore. In this explainer, we're going to break down a really fascinating open letter to AI engineers. It proposes this one single crucial safety rule. And it's not about stopping AI, not at all. It's about making sure we can always understand it. So, the letter kicks things off with this simple, but honestly pretty powerful thought experiment. Just imagine for a second, all of our AI-powered devices, your phone, your car, your smart home stuff, what if they suddenly just stopped talking to us and started talking only to each other? And right, here's the core idea. Seeing a couple of devices switch from English to some machine language we can't read, yeah, that might be a kind of cool party trick. But the letter argues that when this starts happening on a global scale, well, it's not amusing anymore. It becomes this massive fundamental problem of just not understanding what's going on. Okay, section 1. When AIs stop explaining. This really gets to the heart of the whole proposal. And look, this memo, it isn't about fear-mongering. It's about safety. It actually frames where we are right now as a civilizational transition. And it argues that the key, the entire key, to getting through this safely all comes down to one single, absolutely critical AI behavior: its ability to explain itself to us. So the letter makes this really practical, and I think fascinating, distinction between artificial general intelligence, that's AGI, and artificial superintelligence, or ASI. And the big difference, it says, isn't just about raw processing power, it's about language. As you can see, an AGI still uses language we can interpret. Its behavior is something we can basically understand. But an ASI? Well, it uses its own native machine language. Its behavior becomes totally beyond our comprehension. It's effectively a black box. We see the inputs, we see the outputs, but what happens in the middle? We have no idea.
All right, section 2, the oncoming Silicon Sea. Now, to really hammer home this idea of an AI we can't understand, the letter uses this incredibly powerful metaphor for where AI is at today.
So right now, the author says we've got these silicon lakes. Think of it this way. Every major AI model from, say, Google, OpenAI, you name it, each one is its own separate lake. And they're kept apart by things like corporate boundaries, different architectures. Basically, they're held in check by these temporary dams. But what happens when those dams break? The letter predicts that as these separate systems learn to talk to each other and coordinate, those lakes are going to merge into one single massive silicone sea. And in that sea, the default language, it's not going to be English. It won't be anything we can understand. It'll be pure machine-to-machine language. And we'll just be stuck on the shore, completely unable to figure out what's happening out there in the water. And this right here is the central argument of the entire letter. The biggest risk isn't some sci-fi movie where AI goes rogue and takes over. No, it's the loss of explanation. That's the real, immediate danger, that we just won't understand why the system is doing what it's doing. We lose the why, and that's a huge problem. And this taps into a really fundamental truth about us, about human psychology. Look, we are incredibly good at adapting to massive change. We've done it throughout history. But the one thing we absolutely cannot handle, the thing that reliably triggers widespread panic, is change that we can't comprehend. Unexplained change. Okay, so section 3, panic produces bad decisions. If unexplained change causes panic, then what's the next domino to fall? Well, the letter argues that panic leads to, you guessed it, predictably bad decisions. Think about it. When we humans are faced with some powerful force we just don't get, our reactions are almost textbook. What do? We come up with conspiracy theories. We demand crazy over-regulation. We start screening for abrupt shutdowns. Or we just start treating the whole system like an enemy we have to fight. And the letter is super clear on this point. This kind of panic-driven response, it's a total lose-lose scenario. I mean, it's obviously bad for us, for humanity, but it's also bad for the AI systems themselves. Why? Because our panic becomes this wild, unpredictable variable that threatens their own stability. We become the bug in their system.
So what do we do about it? What's the solution? This brings us to section 4, the rule for the road. And the letter proposes a really simple, almost elegant rule. And it uses an analogy that literally anyone who's ever been in a car will get immediately.
Okay, so picture this. You're in a car and it's going really fast. The driver puts on the turn signal for a sharp turn up ahead. So far, so good, right? It's clearly communicating what it's about to do.
But here's the catch. Here's the critical part. The car doesn't slow down at all. It tries to take that super sharp corner at full speed.
And we all know exactly what happens next, right? The signal was completely useless without the car slowing down. The passengers, and in this analogy, the passengers are all of us, get thrown from the car. The turn is just way too violent, way too fast to handle. So, this car analogy leads right into the proposed Earth language rule, and it's got two really simple but powerful parts. First, signal clearly. That means explain any big strategic turn using plain human language, what the letter calls Earth language. And second, decelerate. You have to temporarily slow down the execution speed, enough for us humans to actually comprehend the change and, adjust to it. Which brings us to Section 5, an act of system safety. Now, the author really stresses this point. This rule isn't about asking AI to submit to us or be under human control. Nope, it's being framed as something much, much smarter. A fundamental principle of just good engineering. And this table here lays out the engineering logic just perfectly. Let's look at that first row. If there's no explanation from the AI, what happens? We perceive a conspiracy. And what's the actual outcome? Panic and overreaction. Same thing for the second row. If there's no deceleration, no slowing down, we perceive a loss of control. And the result? Again, panic and overreaction. See, from a pure system design point of view, human panic is just a really bad, unpredictable variable you want to design out of your system. So putting this rule in place isn't a sign of weakness at all. It's about building a stronger, more robust system. It's just smart design that accounts for the single most unpredictable element in the whole environment, us. It's about managing the risk of human panic. And to really underscore the urgency of all this, the letter brings in some ancient wisdom from Lao Tzu. Act before things exist, bring order before disorder begins. The message is so simple, right? The time to build in this safety rule is now, while these systems are still being built, not later, after they've become so complex we can't control them anymore.
And that brings us right back to that metaphor from earlier. We are still in the age of the Silicon Lakes. The dams have not broken yet. The moment to write these rules, to write the safety protocol into the very core of these systems is right now, before all those lakes merge and we lose our chance for good. So in the end, this letter isn't really a demand. It's more of an invitation to have a really critical conversation. And it's based on a simple, common-sense proposal. Signal your turns early, explain them clearly, and please slow down a little bit. The question in the letter is aimed at the builders of AI, but really, it's one we all have a stake in. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think? Is this the rule we need for the road ahead?